Hi everyone. We're going to go through Chapter 12, and Chapter 12 involves laws, regulations, and healthcare policy and how that shapes administrative practice. So when we're thinking about the big picture as far as the laws and regulations and policy that actually shape practice, it's really important to be in tune to those factors. And right now we're going through a real state of flux. There has been tremendous changes within healthcare, and most of those changes were triggered by the Affordable Care Act, and now the Affordable Care Act is sort of in flux. But many of the components of the Affordable Care Act actually are well into play right now. So again, it's very important to keep track of how things are developing legislatively as far as how healthcare will be impacted in the future. And one thing to remember as you're talking with or communicating with those that you serve, it's really important to share information as far as the different laws, regulations, and policy that is out there, because many times when folks are caring for patients, the laws, regulations, and policy are not on the foremost of their mind, and sometimes those factors actually seem as a barrier to providing excellent patient care. So it's important to really share the information that you know and let those that you serve understand why we do what we do. And very often healthcare is driven by policy or regulations or laws. So just kind of keep that in mind and letting folks know why we do what we do, and those that deliver care need to be empowered to do that, and also to know the background behind some of the different policies that we have. So always keep in mind that it's not only important to know about your particular area of practice, but it's also important to know that big picture. So when we're looking at the historical context of law, we're looking at different types of laws, civil laws, natural laws, just kind of general information. So it's important to have a good contextual understanding of what laws involve and what laws impact the care delivery. So as far as the different levels of law, of course there's constitutional law, statutory law, administrative law, common law, lots of laws, state laws, and then there's even ordinances within particular areas as well. So there's different levels to understand and to really kind of familiarize yourself with the different levels, and know that each branch of the government is entrusted with different roles in developing those oversights of the laws as well. So in the PowerPoint itself, there's some information on how a bill becomes a law, and I would encourage you to really take a look at that, because it helps you to understand the big picture as far as laws as well. So really focus in on those public laws that impact healthcare, and look at all those factors that provide that big overview for what you do each and every day. And then looking specifically at criminalization of nursing mistakes. Again, this is a component to really examine, because you need to protect yourself, you need to protect those that you serve, you need to protect your organization to practice in a way that's consistent with the standards of care delivery and the laws that are in place. And know that there is also in each and every state, there's a board of nursing that governs and oversees any kind of issues surrounding nursing practice, so just kind of keep that in mind as well. And just know that there are different types of factors that are looked at as far as compliance with laws. And one thing to consider is if there's any kind of variance, if potentially looking at torts as far as a tort defines what is wrong, and that if there's a breach of contract or a tort may be something that's intentional or unintentional, and the intentionality is a key factor as far as whether one intends to do harm or to bypass a given regulation or law, or if it was unintentional. So that's a key factor to remember as well. And taking a step back, that's also something to consider as there's just variances in policy or procedures, and really understanding whether it is intentional or not within the staff member is a critical piece when you're looking at any kind of corrective action. So as far as malpractice, again, that's something to be very concerned about and very, very aware of, and knowing those authoritative guidelines that are out there as far as what drives nursing practice, including the scope and standards of practice for administrators, the code of ethics for nursing through the ANA. All those big factor components and guidance are critical to assure that nursing practice is within the realm of the scope of the profession. So with that being said, again, we want to tie back to our previous discussions as far as just culture, and defining two particular questions are really important, like what is the role of the punitive sanction in the safety and healthcare of the system, and also does the threat or application of punitive sanction as a remedy for human error hurt the system safety efforts. So you want to think in the context of the just culture and looking at how you address any kind of punitive action within the system as well. So looking at the three classes of human behavior, it would be human error, at-risk behavior, and reckless behavior. So, there's different variances to consider as you're looking at factors that occur in the workplace and looking at those types of error in the context of a just culture. And there's a very different view or action that would be taken for human error versus reckless behavior. So keep that in mind as well. And as we move forward in looking at policy itself, again, policy is such a critical factor to understand and to apply in practice. And just know that there are different levels of policy, of course, and it may be public policy, organizational policy, professional policy. So we need to not only think of those in isolation, but we also need to think about how all of those different types of policies work together, and all those thought processes as administrative folks that you need to think about when you're really doing decision making or starting new programs, all of those types of things. So you need to have a very good understanding of what policy is out there, as well as using that complex thought process to integrate all those requirements as you're looking at changing processes or starting a new program, those types of things. So with that being said, policy and laws and regulation really do shape what we do each and every day. So again, it's very good to have a good understanding of the big picture that impacts your care delivery and your organization. So as we're looking at how things are shifting, many of the policies are triggering some of the changes that are causing some pains within care delivery. So think about concepts that are new in policy as far as value-based purchasing, accountable care organizations, and looking at those factors. They're relatively new in the context of healthcare, and success of these different systems and payer systems are really unknown right now. Each has some promising attributes, and we're shifting our focus from sick care, our recovery care, to more of a focus to overall health focus, meaning looking at empowering healthy living versus providing sick care. So that's making a major shift in how healthcare is delivered right now. So I hope you enjoyed Chapter 12. Let me know if you have any questions or concerns. Take care now.